Hi there. Retirement is supposed to feel free. No alarm clocks, no deadlines, no boss watching over the clock. And for years, that was the dream, really. And you finally reach the point where your time belongs to you again. And at first, man, it feels incredible. You wake up when you want to, you move a little slower, you breathe easier, that's for sure. But then something unexpected starts happening. The days, they start to blend together. Monday feels exactly like Thursday. You start sitting longer than you used to. Small tasks get delayed. Your motivation gets harder to find. And little by little, without even noticing it, you start losing your rhythm. Not because you're lazy, not because you're failing at retirement, but because work used to provide something most people never really appreciated until it disappeared. Structure. And when structure quietly disappears from retirement, something deeper can disappear with it. Your energy, your momentum, your sense of purpose, sometimes even your happiness. Because the hidden danger of retirement isn't always financial. Sometimes it's waking up one day and realizing you no longer feel connected to your own life. And the scary part is it usually happens slowly. The part nobody prepares you for, most people spend decades preparing financially for retirement. Saving money, paying down debt, planning your Social Security, thinking about investments. But almost nobody prepares for the emotional side of what happens after work ends. And that's strange when you think about it, because your job was never just a paycheck. Your job quietly structured your entire life. It gave your days shape. You had a reason to wake up, places to be, people were expecting you, problems to solve, schedules to follow, even if you hated part of your job. It still created rhythm. Morning routines, lunch breaks, conversations, deadlines, movement, purpose. Then one day, all of it stops completely. And at first, that freedom feels amazing. There's no rushing. There's no stress. There's no obligations. But after a while, too much freedom can start becoming something else. Aimlessness. A lot of retirees never see it coming because it doesn't happen dramatically. It happens quietly. You sleep in a little bit later. You watch a little more television. You put things off until tomorrow because technically, there's no reason not to. And slowly, the structure that held your days together starts fading away. This is where retirement can start changing people emotionally. Not overnight, but gradually. The hardest part about losing structure is that it rarely feels dangerous in the moment. In fact, it often feels harmless. I'm just relaxing. Oh, I earned this. I'll get to that later. And for a while, that's perfectly fine. The problem comes when relaxing slowly turns into disengaging. You stop planning your days. You stop going places as often. You stop challenging yourself. Sometimes you even stop noticing how passive your life has become. And here's the important part. A lot of retirees think something is wrong with them when all this happens. They think, why am I less motivated? Why do I feel just a little bit off? Why do my days feel empty, even though I worked my whole life to reach this point? But often it's not depression. It's not even failure. It's not weakness. It's missing some structure in your life, because human beings actually handle freedom better when freedom has boundaries. And that surprises people, but it's true. Too much unstructured time can slowly drain momentum from your life. And momentum matters more in retirement than most people realize. Momentum keeps you moving. It keeps you social. It keeps you mentally engaged. It keeps life feeling active instead of repetitive. Without momentum, it gets rough. Days start shrinking. So why do some retirees thrive? Well, have you ever noticed something interesting? Some retirees seem to come alive after retirement. They stay active, curious, they're engaged. They have places to go, people to meet, projects they care about. Meanwhile, others, they just slowly withdraw. They sit more, they go out less, they lose energy faster. And many times the difference is, it's not money, it's structure. The retirees who thrive usually build rhythm into their lives. Not rigid schedules, not stressful calendars, but rhythm. There's a difference. They create reasons to get moving. Maybe it's a morning walk. Maybe it's coffee with friends on Wednesdays, a gym class. Maybe it's volunteering. Shoot, how about watching the grandkids? Church groups, hobbies, woodworking, gardening, fishing, painting. Folks, you name it. Learn something new. The activity itself doesn't always matter. It's less than the consistency, because structure creates momentum. And momentum protects quality of life. That's the part people miss. Structure isn't about productivity. It's about staying connected to life, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially. Without structure, retirement can quietly become smaller. Smaller routines, smaller worlds, smaller experiences, until eventually the days stop feeling meaningful altogether. So how do you build structure without feeling trapped? Well, here's the good news. You don't need to recreate your working life to build healthy structure. In fact, you shouldn't. Retirement should absolutely feel freer than your working years. But freedom works best when it still has rhythm. And one of the biggest mistakes retirees make is trying to structure everything perfectly. And that usually fails. Instead, start small. Start with some anchors. One thing in the morning, one thing in the afternoon. One thing that gets you out of the house regularly. That's it. Maybe your mornings start with a walk, coffee on the porch, doing a little stretching, reading. How about breakfast at the same diner once a week? Simple things, folks, but repeated things, because repeated behaviors create stability, and stability creates momentum. Another important thing, protect your mornings. Many retirees, they lose structure in the morning first, sleeping later, sitting longer, waiting for the day to begin instead of beginning it themselves. But when mornings disappear, the rest of the day often follows. You don't need to rush, but you need movement. You need a reason to start. And maybe most importantly of all, you need to find ways to be needed again. Folks, that matters deeply in retirement. One of the healthiest things retirees can do is place themselves where people count on them. Volunteering, helping family. How about your community? Church groups, mentoring, part-time work, even small responsibilities, because responsibility gives life weight. Purpose far more than they need endless free time. So the real goal of retirement, I think a lot of people accidentally misunderstand retirement. They think the goal is to escape structure completely, but the happiest retirees usually don't eliminate structure. They replace stressful structure with meaningful structure. There's a huge difference. They build lives with rhythm instead of pressure. And that rhythm becomes the foundation for everything else. Better health, better energy, more social connection, more fulfillment, more stability emotionally. Because when your days have shape, life keeps feeling alive. But when every day becomes random, retirement quietly starts shrinking. Not all at once, just a little by little. And the truth is, the hidden danger of losing structure in retirement has nothing to do with laziness. It has everything to do with losing momentum. Retirement isn't just about stopping work. It's about building a life that still feels engaging. And the retirees who do the best long term are usually not the busiest people. They're the people who continue giving their days meaning, purpose, rhythm, connection, movement. That's what structure really is. And in the next video, we're going even deeper into something that often follows the loss of structure in retirement: isolation. Because one of the quietest changes retirement can bring is feeling disconnected from the people without fully realizing it's happening. And for many retirees, that change starts much earlier than they think. Folks, I want to thank you for spending some of your time with me here today. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.